Pledge allegiance and invocation by Councilmember Gelzer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. Heavenly Father, please give the guidance to this council to make good decisions. Please also protect those who are in harm's way, who are protecting us from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And as I look down across the dais, all are present. And we're going to start out with communications first, and we have 4 communications here tonight. I have 2 presentations to make, and then the third one you see will be a presentation by Jennifer Barber, and then we'll get by Tanya Tonner a report on Save Kids.
Soccer, football, real football.
Where are those girls that are such good athletes? I'm so pleased to see you here tonight. You know, I was all prepared to do this for you, and you weren't here. So I said, where are my girls? Because I knew that, you know, you have such a great record. So I want you to all stand up. Come on up here. All right. And I want you to, as he names your name, I want you to come up and stand by me.
Okay, first we have the captain of the team, Kelsey Roberts. Rachel Cardwell. Araceli Ariola. Courtney Perry. Bliss Hickman. Courtney Mowbray. Emily Slick. Taylor Huff. Ashley Godfrey. Taylor Godfrey, Kylie Yoshikawa, Darian Culver, Haley Heinrich, Katie Lasica, and their coaches, Casey Grant and head coach James Nottingham.
Girls, when I read this in the newspaper, being a mother that had athletes in her family, my daughters were all scholarship athletes, athletics, and went on to different universities. And I know it takes a lot for you to do this. And I know you are the 4-time consecutive state champions. I think that says a lot. Not only that, yes. Not only that, I know you have to keep your grades up too. So that's a real accomplishment. And we just want to show you our appreciation. And we have a proclamation we're going to give you. And so if you'll bear with me, I'll read it, okay? It says, whereas the Estrella Foothills Lady Wolves soccer team has become the 2012 Division III Girls Soccer State Champion. Whereas it could not have been possible for the Lady Wolves to have won this title without the talent of its team members. Amen. Whereas the leadership of the coaches, James Nottingham, Casey Grant, were instrumental in guiding this outstanding team to victory. Whereas the Lady Wolves defeated Palo Verde Titans of Tucson, Arizona, 3-2 in an overtime on Friday, February 10th, 2012 in Gilbert, Arizona, to win their 4th consecutive state championship. Whereas this 4th state championship brought great esteem to the Australia Foothills High School, who pride themselves on teamwork, excellence, as well as a great honor to their hometown of Goodyear. Amen to that one, too. Whereas the city of Goodyear is extremely proud of the Estrella Foothills High School Lady Wolves for the hard work and the commitment they have made them state champions for 4 straight years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Georgia Lord, Mayor of Goodyear, Arizona, do hereby proclaim March 26, 2012, to be recognized as the Australia Foothills High School Lady Wolves 4-time consecutive state championship day, given under my hand in these free United States in the city of Goodyear on the 26th day of March, 2012. and to which I have caused the seal of the city of Goodyear to be affixed and have made this proclamation public. Congratulations. Come on, Council, we're going to take the time. Come down and give them a congratulations. Congratulations. Really good. Thank you. You're all so beautiful. I'll tell you what, it looks like you all take time and really great. And where's your coach? Where's your coach? Where's the coach? Oh, sorry. Well, it's one of our very own. I saw you. We are so pleased with you. Thank you so much. And all the time you take and on your off hour. Oh, that's just marvelous. Thank you. Now. Well, I thought you. I didn't even look at you. In fact, I didn't even really realize the name.
Good job. Great.
Okay. Oh, you guys.
Sure enough. Awesome. Very good. That's cool.
All right, good job.
Now, the next one is a letter of recognition to Teresa Graves for receiving the Rodell Award for Teaching. Could you please come forward?
All right. Good job.
We want to thank you for your dedication, because we know in this day and age it's not easy with the lack of funds going to education, with crowded classrooms, and so it really is absolutely a tribute to you to have you excel to this award level. So I want to read this to you, Mrs. Graves. May I call you Teresa? Mrs. Teresa Graves, a resident of the city of Goodyear and a teacher at the Licio C. Felix Elementary School, has brought great honor and credit to her profession, school, and city, with her achievement in being recognized as the 2012 Rodell Exemplary Teacher. Mrs. Graves' dedication to educational excellence has distinguished her as a leader in the West Valley and the Avondale Elementary School District, who, through her devotion to the highest values of the teaching profession, challenges, nurtures, and inspires all her students to reach the highest academic and personal potential. Mrs. Graves' leadership is reflected in her mentoring of new teachers and modeling the way to a successful career that enriches the lives of the students. Mrs. Graves applies teaching methods that serve to engage students, and this is really nice, instills a love of learning and confidence. Mrs. Graves has upheld the core values of her school and her profession by demonstrating a strong commitment to her students and community, by going beyond, I mean beyond the state educational standards to create a meaningful connection to your classroom and learning experiences. Mrs. Graves has demonstrated the qualities of character and excellence that are truly respected and admired by her peers, and of course the students in her community. For these reasons, the mayor and the council, on behalf of the city of Goodyear, Arizona, recognizes your actions to be a valuable contribution to our community in keeping with the finest ideals of citizenship and professionalism. And thank you so much for all your dedication.
That's okay.
Just one moment. My mouth is dry after reading all those. Excuse me. Thank you. Now we'd like to have a presentation by Jennifer Barber. Jennifer, if you'll come forward. She's with the Arizona Action for Lids on Arizona Kids. So you're on.
Thank you. We have some people coming up. Okay. Good evening, Mayor Lord and members of council. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I really appreciate it. I am Jennifer Barber, and I am one of the co-founders and the executive director of Arizona in Action. And we got our start here in Goodyear about 4 years ago when a handful of our founding members helped the city of Goodyear win the All-America City Award. And one of the most important things I got out of that entire experience was the importance of collaboration. We do many things within the city of Goodyear. We now have expanded our program statewide. And tonight I'm here to tell you about one of our new programs and the importance. And these are all of the wonderful people that we have been working with and collaborating with. And especially tonight, I would just like to say thank you to all of these people. So we can go to the presentation. The name of our program is called Lids on Arizona Kids. And this is a collaboration between the Goodyear Parks and Rec Department, the Goodyear Fire Department, the Police Department, the Safe Kids Coalition of Maricopa County, 2 schools in Estrella, Estrella Mountain Elementary School and Westar Elementary School, and Phoenix Children's Hospital. The goals of this program, it's twofold. First, we want to encourage physical exercise before and after school and help families find ways that they can work in extra active activity. Secondly, we want to educate families about helmet use. I don't know if you know this, but in the state of Arizona, helmets are not required for children when they're riding their bikes and their scooters and their skateboards. So some of the obstacles, it's difficult for families to find extra time in the day for additional exercise. And we've come up with a creative way of trying to motivate the kids and then thereby motivating their families to make an effort to walk and bike to school. And again, there's no federal or a state law in Arizona requiring the kids to wear the helmets. So what we did was back in February, we had a bike rodeo in Estrella. And that's really when this collaboration really came together. You can see all the wonderful people that helped put it together. And then for the last 6 weeks, we've been working really hard to try and get this program going. Right now, we have 2 test site schools where we're trying this program. I try everything out, usually in the neighborhood where I live, and then if it works, then we try and expand it. So right now, we're doing helmet rewards at Estrella Mountain Elementary School, and that's Mrs. Sharon Marine. She's the principal of the school there. And then at Westar Elementary School, and Dave Bogart is a principal there. So we wanted to find out how many kids were actually wearing helmets before we started this program. And we did a walkabout at both of the schools. At Estrella Mountain, 3 of the 50 kids who were on bikes and scooters were wearing helmets. And at Westar, it was just 4 of 64 kids. So I think that's pretty telling that the kids are just not wearing the helmets. So how do we get them to wear the helmets? What we decided to do is start to bring celebrities and local businesses in the areas and have them have one-on-one contact with the kids. And if you take a look at the middle picture on the very bottom row, there's a child there with a green helmet. The police officers came out one day, and the kids who were wearing helmets got to sit on the patrol bikes, play with all the little gadgets and everything. This child did not have a helmet that day, and at the end of the day, we were getting ready to wrap up, and all of a sudden, this kid comes back to school. He's on his scooter. He's going as fast as he can. He's like, wait a minute, is this all I had to do to get on the bike? And it was fantastic because the officer spent another 20 minutes with him after all the other kids had gone home. And it's not just good PR for the community, but that child will remember that forever. And that's what it's about. The kids absolutely love having the one-on-one contact. We've had the Phoenix Suns dancers out, Zizzy, Goodyear Fire, and we have many other organizations coming out as well in the next couple of weeks. And then on your desk, you should have a little charm. So what happens is the kids get a charm, and the more charms they get, they will get to be in a drawing for prizes at the end of the semester. So the kids, and there's one of the girls, she comes up every week, she's like, I've got my helmet on, I've got it on, this is great, and they're all excited to get their little charm. So that's what we've been doing as far as the incentives. Early results. Keep in mind that we're a small nonprofit. I'm essentially the one going up to the schools every week and bringing along these wonderful people to help me out. We've gone from 3 and 4 kids to an average of 20 kids at each school wearing helmets now. That's an increase of 33 children in just 6 weeks who are now wearing helmets that did not wear helmets before. So why do we care? Why is this a big deal? A lot of people tell me, I don't like to wear a helmet, it messes up my hair, it's uncomfortable, it's this, it's that. Well, more than 40% of bicycle-related deaths are due to head injuries, or result in head injuries. Nearly 75% of all head injuries from bicycle crashes occur in children aged 14 and under. And of all bicyclists who are killed in traffic crashes, and especially this number from back in 2006, 95% of those who were killed were not wearing helmets. Can we have a safer Goodyear? Arizona now ranks the second worst state in the entire country when it comes to traffic safety laws. And that's a statistic that came out in January by the Advocates for Highway and Auto Safety. In the state of Arizona, there are 4 cities and 1 county that have now adopted helmet laws for children under 18. They are Flagstaff, Sierra Vista, Tucson, Yuma, and Pima County. On your desk with you right now is a purple packet I've put together with all the information about those laws, how they work, and how people can be a little bit more motivated to wear those helmets. So one of the things that I think is most important is a lot of times communities don't react to an issue until something tragic has happened. Fortunately, no one right now that we know of has died in Goodyear because they haven't been wearing a helmet. But tonight I would like to introduce to you J.P. Hasman and his mom, Gail, and they have a very interesting story to tell.
Good evening. My son, JP, almost 2 years ago, was on his way to school at Estrella Mountain Elementary. He was wearing his helmet. He was on his bike. He got off his bike to cross the street like he was taught. And unfortunately, a van coming down the street hit him anyway. He was air-evac'd to St. Joseph's Hospital. And as a mother, I can tell you that is the scariest phone call you are ever going to get in your life. We were very lucky that JP was not injured permanently in any way, but I will tell you that the second scariest statement I got that day was from the neurologist that spoke to us at the hospital. The Goodyear police officers on the scene brought JP's helmet to the doctors, and they came in and explained to JP that had he not been wearing his helmet, they would be having a very different conversation with us that day. That alone can scare you. I'm very lucky. JP is the youngest of my 3 children. All of them have worn their helmets. I like to take some of the credit, my husband and I, for what we've taught them over the years. That is how important it is. But it also comes from the community and the schools that they go to, and the police officers that come into the schools and have taught them safety from kindergarten on. So because of all of the community support we've gotten, JP has taken great pride, as you can see, in showing off his new helmet, where he tells everybody he won this one. But if it wasn't for his helmet, he wouldn't have. So helmet safety, I think, should be at the forefront of all of our thoughts, especially now. When you see how many kids are not wearing their helmets, it's frightening. So, thank you.
So I'm a mom, and I know many of you have children and even grandchildren. And I don't know what I would do if my daughter were to fall and hit her head and it was something that could have been prevented, her death, her injury could have been prevented with a $20 helmet. So I do encourage you to take a look at the packets that I've given you this evening. And I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate each and every one of you and everything that you've done to make this a fantastic community. I'm a very, very happy Goodyear resident, and thank you for giving me and other volunteers in the community the opportunity to go out and do positive things. Thank you for your time.
It seems like I spend a lot of time saying thank you to you and to your group. This Arizona in Action has been an action group. And so we wanted to give Jennifer the opportunity to tell what she does. This proclamation says a lot of it, but I didn't want to be reading this because I wanted you to hear how effective she is and her team of officers are and volunteers. So I do want you to know that this is a proclamation for Goodyear Walk and Bike School month April 2012. And I do want you to know that therefore it has been resolved that I, Georgia Lord, Mayor of Goodyear, Arizona, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2012 as the Walk and Bike to the School Month in the city of Goodyear. And I urge all students, like you do, parents, teachers, administration, school districts, and Goodyear to participate in this event, and encourage everyone to consider the safety and health of the children month after month. Given under my hand in these free United States, and I will say, aren't we lucky, these free United States in the city of Goodyear on the 26th day of March 2012, and to which I have caused the seal of the city of Goodyear to be affixed and have made this proclamation public. And again, thank you. Wait a minute. I think we have some other people that want to, and I should have called them. No, come back up here a minute. You know, it's terrible because the mayor always gets the attention. And actually, I don't deserve it in this case. So the two people that do are people that are on the board, Joe Pizzillo and Sherry Loretano. And I do think the lady sitting there in the back, Joanne Osborne, Vice Mayor, you served how long on this board?
2 years.
2 years on the board. So you can see the council's been very active.
Number one fan.
Oh, so I know, do you want to say anything? I'll give you that moment. Do you have anything to say? I can't believe you don't have anything to say, Joe.
As a mom of a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, one who rides bikes, dirt bikes and everything, this is such an important program. And I will tell you, it makes me think when I see them out there, if I drop them off, and even if they don't ride, it makes me remind that if they're just going out just even to ride up and down the street, they have to have their helmet on it. It is so important. I mean, I was like choking up thinking of my own daughter. God forbid anything happens to her. And we're so glad you wore your helmet.
First of all, I want to thank the entire group. I know Jennifer, when she had this as an idea many, how many years? 4 years ago, was just a thought, and now look what it's sprouted into. I'm going through it a second time. I have a 4.5-year-old granddaughter and a 1.5-year-old granddaughter. 1.5-year-old granddaughter is not quite there yet on the bike, but the 4.5-year-old is. So this is very important. They're precious to me, and I would want to never see anything happen to you that would happen to my granddaughters, my precious granddaughters. So again, I think it's a very worthwhile cause that we make sure that we take care of our kids. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We just feel it's very important to thank our citizens for being so positive and taking forward steps in making us a better city. And it's just so rewarding to see the end result of this. Well, it's not the end. It will continue. All right. So at this time now, where the citizens' comments and appearances from the floor.
Mayor.
Mayor.
Oh, Tanya. You should have waved me like this. Tanya is going to make a report on the Save Kids Maricopa Child Seat event held on January 20, 2012. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you. Definitely thank you, Mayor and Council. Following that presentation, that's what makes my job easier. As you know, I am the Community Education Coordinator and Specialist, and it takes a lot of people to present and to help and to keep our kids safe. One of the events I'd really like to share with you, what is Save Kids event? Okay, this is the 14th year of the car seat event, and when we say car seat event, it's child passenger safety event. 14th year with Save Kids, Maricopa County, multiple organizations across Maricopa County, fire, police, healthcare organizations, and not only just that, but a lot of our technicians are moms who simply want to keep the kids safe. What we did is we were able to come together And when I say a car seat event, people say, why? You know, it's just buckling in a car seat. How hard is that? 9 out of 10 seats are installed incorrectly. I have been a tech for 10 years, and I have literally seen 3 seats that were actually done amazing. The seats just aren't, they're not that easy to put in. I'll put it that way. Very difficult. Myself, along with Lisa Kuditz from Glendale Fire, we coordinated the West Side event, which was actually held at Cabela's parking lot, a site location that was actually big enough to host all the cars that we had. We had 35 technicians, 20 volunteers at our location alone, 3 of our members from VIPS, and want to acknowledge them again. Janet Gundy, VIPS, PJ Miller was there to help out with us.
Stand up, ladies.
Oh, no, you don't get to sit down. Yeah, there you go. They were asked to help with our quality control of paperwork, because we all know you got to cross every dot and every T, so we did that. And also we had Brenda Pfeiffer, who would probably really would like to be here tonight. She was just released from the hospital, so we'd really like to give our thoughts that go out to her to make sure she gets well. And also we had a red shirt, Levi Kester. He was our logistics guy. You got to have someone with a little bit of strength to move all those car seats around. So we had someone to help us with that. Overall, our site checked 76 seats. The event together, it was in 2 other locations. It was 93 technicians. We had 71 volunteers, and a total of 227 seats were checked. It was just an outstanding event. It's a great opportunity to partner with multiple agencies for one cause that we could see right away that we made a difference, because we know that seat is installed correctly, and we take the time to teach the parents to put the seats in correctly. And a little bit of fun. Thanks, Eddie. You were supposed to filter some of those photos there. Yeah. It wasn't a seat giveaway per se, but with Cardinals Children's Hospital and Maricopa County Health Department, 84 children went home with brand new seats. Wow. So it was a great event overall. I just want to thank you for the time, and again, for our support of the educational processes that we have.
Well, we want to thank you. And, you know, it's great to listen and hear about the collaboration. You know, when I'm around the region, they're always talking about and always asking us, well, how do you cooperate and collaborate with the other cities? And I think the fact that Glendale Fire coordinated this with you says that we in the West Valley do work well with each other. And I'm going to turn it over to the council. I just want to thank all the volunteers. I mean, huge number of volunteers for this. And for those who obviously contributed the seats for the children. And I know the difficulty because I have yet to put my grandson correctly in his car seat, and I always have to have someone help me. So it is sometimes a little complicated. Council, would you like to comment?
Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. I can tell you as a mother, you know, it just horrifies me when I see children that are standing up in their car as they're driving down the road or not buckled in tightly, and I really appreciate that you're out there doing that. You know, that's one thing as a mom, that as the kids get bigger, I think the only thing that you are happy about is the fact that, oh good, they can get out of that car seat once they're old enough and heavy enough to do so. Thanks for all the work.
Right.
Joe?
Thank you.
Well, I believe you helped us put our car seat in when we had the first grandkid, so I can appreciate. I looked at it for a while and could never figure out how to put that thing back together. But the one thing I do want to mention is, as I go around to various organizations, and some of us are part of a few of them, is I wouldn't say the word amazed, but I'm just so thankful from our city perspective of how much positive energy we have in the city, whether it's the 22,000 volunteers that give their time, whether it's Goodyear in Action, the Southwest Lending Closet, Goodyear Bear, the Care Bears. I mean, I could just keep going on and name tons of them that go through there. So I appreciate, especially in this environment, in this economy, citizens stepping up and helping others. That's a great thing. So I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate tonight, you know, with the soccer team and Jennifer and what everybody's doing. So keep up the great work. Thank you.
Yes, Sherry?
I want to thank you very much again. my kids are past the car seat age now, but yeah, putting those in different cars is very complicated. It may sound like it's easy, but it's not with the latch system and everything that they have. And a lot of people don't realize that if a child is not in that car seat correctly, a minor accident can be fatal, or if the seats aren't facing the right way. So thank you very much for the education. Keep up the good work. Please keep doing these events.
Oh, thank you. And any car seats events. We do have a hotline, 882-SEAT, just happened to be there. So great number, and a website too that also has other agencies, that have technicians. So if you have any of your friends, families, definitely get your seats checked. All right, thank you again.
Well, thank you. All right. Now is the time for citizens' comments and appearance from the floor. Do we have, and this will be on non-agenda items. Are there any cards?
I have
5 speaker cards. All right. You want to read it, and as the first speaker comes up, I will read this. All right.
Ken Grand.
All right. The council will listen to your comments, and they may take any of one of the following steps. They may, number 1, respond to criticism. 2, they request the staff investigate and report on the matter. And 3, they request that the matter be scheduled on a future agenda. Each speaker, you have 3 minutes. The yellow light and the buzzer will let you know you have 30 seconds left to speak. Before you begin to speak, identify yourself by clearly stating for the record your name and address.
Is Ken Grand here? Okay, next speaker, Joe Husband.
And good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, and Goodyear City staff. Joe Husband, the airport manager, Phoenix Goodyear Airport, 1658 South Litchfield Road. And as always, I want to thank you for the opportunity to address the mayor and council regarding the airport. Tonight, I want to share a significant milestone in airport activities. At Goodyear, Hangar 18 has returned to full service and operation. We received our certificate of occupancy effective 15 March, and we received it on 23 March. But on 15 March, we got our final inspection, so we received certificate of occupancy. And not after a significant amount of investment, we've spent about $300 on the occupancy issues that were identified, about $100,000 on environmental costs associated with remediation of some of the environmental stuff, about $100,000 on upgrades to new and improved facilities at the hangar, and about $150,000 on a paint job because it was kind of looking tired. And why is this important? Well, it's been vacant for over 5 years, and it's a significant asset, a very valuable asset to the airport and also to the community. And we have been vacant over 5 years. We haven't had a new business partner join us at the airport for over 5 years. And now, as a result of the occupancy of the hangar, we actually have our newest business partner that will be joining us shortly, Galaxy International, and also several other folks who have expressed some interests. But the real reason that I'm here today is to thank the city staff, Madam Mayor, members of the council, for your cooperation and support throughout the process. I like to say that it takes a village to operate an airport, But I wanted to thank staff. There were many folks from a lot of departments, and on behalf of Phoenix Goodyear Airport, I just want to express our sincere thanks. We worked, of course, very closely with the fire department, both Chief Gaylord and Deputy Chief Ullman, Alex and Georgia, and, of course, Maria Herridge, the fire marshal. Building safety, we worked, of course, with Ed Kulik and Bill King and their staff over there. Community development, planning and zoning, Karen Carver was our helped us out over there. Public Works Department, Jerry, Ray, and Hector over there in the Water Services team. We appreciate their support, and of course, Economic Development, who was very principal in bringing to us some many different business interests that come there. Just checking for the yellow light. I'm verbose, you know that. So anyway, I wanted to thank especially Paula and Harry and Peter Plant, the development process facilitator. So on behalf of our airport, we absolutely appreciate our partnership and really value the things that we get to do together. So thank you for the opportunity to come and share that with you
Quite
tonight.
welcome. Thank you. And thank you for your presentations you've given to us lately. And I think it really enlightened the council that did not know the beginning and the future. So thank you.
It's our pleasure. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Anybody else on the? Any other cards?
Yes, ma'am. Gary Gibbs.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Gary Gibbs. I live at 17562 West Polaris Drive in Goodyear. And reading recently about the city manager's retirement or resignation or termination, whatever it was, I'm not sure. And, you know, seeing that all of you unanimously accepted that a mere 90 days after the city manager had renewed his contract, that raised a number of questions in my mind. And I'd like to ask a couple of them to you this evening. In the newspaper, it said that you agreed to accept John Fischbach's departure because you felt it was time for a change and time to go in a different direction. And that made me think, what was the direction in which we were going to which all of you suddenly objected to and agreed to let Mr. Fischbach go? What was that direction? And when you talk about a different direction, I, for one, would like to know what that different direction is going to look like. Now, I'm not asking for any of you to comment on personnel or employment matters. I know you're prohibited from doing so. I'm also not asking for you to divulge anything that transpired in your executive session. Once again, I know you're prohibited from doing so. But I think you can address my two questions. What was wrong with the direction we were going in, and why did you decide to part ways over that direction? And what will the new direction look like? I really believe you can address both of those without getting into matters that you aren't allowed to get into. Thank you. I'll leave you the rest of my time to answer those.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. I'm going to refer to the lawyer. Would you explain for the council, please?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, of course, this is the call to the public.
Could you speak a little bit closer because it's kind of hard to hear you?
This is the call to the public, the opportunity for the public to address the council. It's not an open forum, nor a question and answer period. For a council to discuss matters, they must be placed on the agenda to comply with open meeting laws. So there's nothing that council can appropriately address this evening.
Thank you. Any other cards?
Julio Iglesias.
My name's Julio Iglesias. I live at 2009 North 161st Drive here in Goodyear. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Let me begin by saying that I sincerely do not mean to offend anybody, and I apologize in advance if I do. But I'm going to tell it like it is because I live in this community. I've been here for 10 years. I've purchased 2 homes here. I plan on living here the rest of my life. And I love Goodyear, despite what some of you might think. Ladies and gentlemen, the morale, trust, and pride of many of the citizens and city employees of Goodyear has been severely damaged. And no wonder, considering the seemingly endless parade of scandals occurring lately, wrongful terminations, malicious prosecutions, firings, resignations, forced or otherwise, mismanagement, lawsuits, and on and on and on. The saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. I think it's obvious, I don't mean to insult anybody, that the council and city management have not been very responsible. I don't have time to list various examples. I think they've all been well documented recently. However, I do have a question about one recent action. Kind of echoes what Mr. Gibbs said. Rhetorically speaking, if the city manager resigned, why is he getting a severance package that is designated only in the event that he's fired? Which is it? Did he resign or did he get fired? It's a simple question. Don't we, the citizens of Goodyear, have the right to know the truth and why $84,000 of taxpayer money is essentially being wasted? Are we just supposed to accept all the spin on this latest debacle, or is it just none of our business? The organizational chart that I remember when I was an employee of the city of Goodyear has the city council listed at the top. Just below is the city manager, the various department heads, all the way down to line level employees. Right above the city council, at the very top of the chart, I remember it saying citizens of Goodyear. I take that to mean that we are in charge, and you, as the council, are here to carry out the will of the people. Well, I'd like to put that to a very simple test, and again, rhetorically speaking. On behalf of Goodyear, I would expect that the council and city management to immediately become transparent regarding matters of the city. Is that too much to ask? Or everything could just remain status quo, and we all know how that's been working. I do have one final thought. Along with the city manager, there is another employee, in my opinion, that should be replaced, and that is the city attorney, who I believe is equally culpable in creating the mess that is currently bringing down the morale, as I mentioned earlier, of this city.
Mayor, it's time.
Good luck to all of you, and God bless Goodyear.
Thank you. Could I have order, please, in the room? Thank you very much. Because there were some negative, I can look at each of the council members if you want to make any comment. No comment?
I have a question.
Yes.
For the city attorney. At what point will we be able to respond to the questions? Put it on the agenda? Is that?
Certainly, if you want to discuss a matter such as that, you can schedule it as an agenda item. The constraints of open meeting law is to freely discuss matters. You certainly need to place it on the agenda, so that's certainly council's prerogative.
Okay, thank you.
Although you cannot discuss what went on in the executive meeting.
That's exactly right, Mayor.
So
Anything
some of his, questions, it's frustrating for everybody. You may think that this is the way we want to do this. We have to do it by state statute. So our hands are tied, can't tell about the conversation. Sometimes, so that's where we're at. So without getting
Certainly
myself
correct,
into
Mayor.
trouble, I'm stopping that right now.
That's certainly correct. Executive session materials are certainly confidential, and certainly personnel matters most of the
Right.
times are confidential as well.
But I think he gave some guidelines to maybe some, some further information, not on what has gone on, but what we're looking at for the future of Goodyear, and that's certainly something that we can present. And we've talked about doing something in that nature. So rightfully so, we need to be doing that. Okay? All right.
I have one more speaker.
Oh, you do. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Terry Woodmansey.
Can I get Elmo put on as well? Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Over the last few days, citizens of Goodyear had read the various stories about the resignation or firing, if you may, of City Manager John Fischbach. For the first time in a long time, I believe I can give you some kudos to finally doing something to make change. However, Councilmember Loretano, you are truly the one who deserves the most praise, because I believe you saw the facts and understood the facts back when the city manager's contract was up for renewal a few months ago and took a stand to vote against that renewal. Unfortunately, due to the other members of council voting to renew his contract, that decision is now costing your taxpayers a large sum of money. Or is it the city attorney's advisement causing the taxpayers a large sum of money? Over the past months, I have requested a copy of final paychecks for former Chief of Police Mark Brown, former Commander Ralph McLaughlin, and various other individuals who are allowed to retire or resign as you may. But I have been refused these requests from the city attorney. The Freedom of Information Act is a law ensuring public access to government records. This act ensures transparency and implies openness, communication, and accountability. The city attorney has failed not just in my requests, but many individuals' requests in this community. The city attorney has used various excuses or claims to refuse documents. According to the recent articles in the paper, Many council members have been quoted as to the withholding of information or poor communication with council that spurred John Fischbach's sudden resignation. Mayor Lord, you stated, and I quote, "It was some of John's leadership. It can be very simple, as maybe a council member didn't feel they were getting the complete information that they requested, or in the time frame they requested it. Council members Campbell and Loretano spoke of no communication with regards to the 2-day Pendleton article that was released in the Arizona Republic blindsiding them. For your information, that article has been in the making for the last 5 months. You can bet that John Fischbach knew and your legal team knew. After all, your city attorneys are involved in those cases and in every legal decision done in this city. They knew the 38-page report from Paul Charlton given to council was only a summary, and the real report consisted of over 763 pages, which others had to bring to your attention. City Attorney Macy was involved in the Pendleton death from the beginning, just like City Manager John Fischbach, according to testimonies given in these cases. But I have to ask you to read the following policy with me. City Policy 600 D1, Sick Leave Payout. An employee vested in the Arizona State Retirement System with a minimum of 5 years of continuous service with the city and hired prior to July 1, 2004, shall be compensated for 60 days accrued sick leave upon termination. Employees hired on or after with a minimum of 10 years shall be compensated for 60 days. Your city employees are the backbone of your organization. Shouldn't the example of management be the same treatment no matter what position you hold? The city attorney was involved in your executive session.
I'm sorry, Ms. Woodmansee, but the time is up. I appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please, no clapping. I know you want to, but decorum says no. So I can appreciate if you're in support of how you feel, but please refrain. Thank you. Any other cards?
No.
All right. Okay, we're going to go to the consent agenda, please. I'd ask this Deputy City Clerk to read the consent agenda items A and B, please.
Item A, approve draft minutes of a regular meeting and a special meeting held on February 13th, 2012. Item B, approve a request from Christy Schregel, representing Giginos LLC, for a person and location transfer Series 7, liquor license 07070181, for Giginos, located at 3810 South Estrella Parkway, Suite 309, in the Estrella Crossing Business Park.
Thank you. Does anyone from the public wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Does anyone from the council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Then I would ask for a motion and a second, please.
Mayor, I so move.
Second.
I hear a motion by Wally Campbell and a second by Councilman Stiff. Ask for a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Osborne.
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano.
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell.
Aye.
Councilmember Gelzer.
Aye.
Councilmember Stipp.
Aye.
Mayor Lord.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
All right, there are 3 items on the business agenda tonight. First business item is to consider adopting ordinance 1255 to allow an assisted living facility on the northwest corner of Indian School Road and Wigwam Boulevard. Brett Birmingham will present. Brett?
This one's a no-brainer.
Thank you, Mayor Lord, members of the council, and members of the public. Before you this evening is a PAD amendment, rezoning application, and Hawthorne Development Corporation, in partnership with the Lentity Group, is requesting an amendment to the Palm Valley Phase 5 PAD to allow construction of the proposed Goodyear Retirement Residence Development. In the subject property, I've placed an aerial photo up here showing the subject property in a dashed red line. The subject property consists of approximately 6.6 acres. You can see it's located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Indian School Road and Wigwam Boulevard. The site contains street frontage along both West Indian School Road right here and also Wigwam Boulevard right here. Existing land uses surrounding the subject property include, to the north, you can see there's a portion of the Bullard Wash, which is part of the Falcon Park. And to the east, you can see the Millennium High School student parking lot. To the southeast, we have Wigwam Boulevard and the Wigwam Commons Commercial Center. And to the south, there's a small portion of the property directly adjacent to Indian School Road and a portion of the Pebble Creek planned area. And to the west, we have Bullard Wash and the Falcon Park again. Now we have a site plan exhibit for you. The existing zoning, as mentioned in your staff report, it's planned area development with a land use designation of neighborhood commercial. So this area is subject to the city's C1 zoning district. And it's important to note that it's an assisted living facility like this can be allowed in the C1 zoning district with a use permit. But tonight, the applicant is requesting a PAD amendment to allow the use and also to modify a few of the C1 zoning district standards, and I'll cover those quickly here in a moment. But just a summary of the site, it's proposed to contain 130 three-story suites and 2 one-story duplex cottages for a total of 134 units. You can see on this exhibit the dark blocks are the buildings, the green areas, so the landscaping there. Here are a few building elevation exhibits for you. We did conduct a citizen review meeting on January 3rd. There was one adjacent property owner who attended that meeting. He lived in Phase 5. There were no comments submitted by the Phase 5 HOA or the Pebble Creek HOA, although copies of the applications were sent to them. The applicant was also asked to provide the Pebble Creek HOA representatives with extra copies of this application. However, no comments were submitted by the Pebble Creek HOA. One more exhibit for you. So this exhibit would show the pool house, the single-story cottages, and some of the garage units. The proposed use and the development plan appear to be compatible with the surrounding properties. I'll go back to the aerial photo. Okay, so that you can see this aerial photo. Regarding the proposal to increase the maximum building height from 30 feet to 50 feet to the highest point of the pitched roof, staff finds that the proposed building height is acceptable and will not have a detrimental impact on the surrounding properties. You'll note on this exhibit, in addition to the typical landscape setbacks that are required by the zoning ordinance, this site includes increased setbacks from adjacent commercial buildings and residential development by Wigwam Boulevard, by Indian School Road, by the Bullard Wash, and also Millennium High School student parking lot. Regarding the request to reduce the parking, the applicant is requesting that the parking requirement go from 0.75 spaces per unit to 0.65 spaces per unit. So they're requesting a little bit fewer than is required. The applicant has provided documentation of their other approximately 300 developments that they've developed throughout North America. They've showed parking data showing that they require a parking ratio of at least 0.6 spaces per unit. This application is showing 0.65, and again, the zoning ordinance requirement would be 0.75 spaces per unit. Also important to note that the applicant is reporting that most of the residents do not drive or own a vehicle, and I'll let the applicant talk more about the unique nature of the use. They do have a daily van transportation to take residents to places that they need to visit. And wanted to mention a copy of the development plan was sent to Luke Air Force Base for review, and Luke Air Force Base confirmed through a letter that the proposed development is compatible and consistent with the high noise or accident potential of Luke Air Force Base. Staff, regarding the high school, Millennium High School, staff has been in contact with representatives of the Agua Fria Union High School District and Millennium High School regarding this application. We sent copies of the application to both the high school principal and to the facilities director of the high school district. And as noted in the staff report, the high school officials wanted to make sure that the applicant understood that future residents may be impacted from the traffic and noise associated with typical high school operations. And you'll note in your staff report, in the ordinance section of the staff report, you'll note that there's stipulation number 3, which is requiring the owner of the retirement facility to include a disclosure statement in any future rental agreement for prospective residents to sign, which will acknowledge that they know the site is in close proximity to Millennium High School, and that the assisted living / retirement facility may be subject to traffic congestion, loud noise, and light intrusion that may be associated with the outdoor high school activities at various times of the day and night, including outdoor sporting events, band practices, band performances. We felt it was important to add that stipulation on there. You'll also note that there are additional stipulations, 4, 5. 4 is notifying the future residents of the Arizona Motorsports Park. 5 is notifying them of Luke Air Force Base and the Phoenix Goodyear Airport to make sure that they know these uses are here before they sign into a rental agreement. And finally, on February 15th, the Planning Commission recommended that this application be approved, subject to the stipulations that are outlined in your staff report. And this would conclude the presentation by staff. Staff is available to answer any questions that you might have. We also have the applicant is represented by Mark Lowen with the Lenity Group and Mick Davis with Hawthorne Development. They're both here to answer any questions that you might have.
I heard you. Thank you. Thank you, Brett. That was a nice presentation. Do they want to come up and speak before we, so they have, or are they fine with the presentation?
Turn this time over.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Lord, and City Councilors. Excuse me. Mark Lowen with Lemony Group. I just want to say that we are in concurrence with and support the staff report and the conditions and stipulations involved. Both myself and Mr. Davis are here to answer any questions that you may have. I can do a 20-minute presentation and tell you how great our project is, but I don't want to belabor the point either. So we're here. We make ourselves available. I would love to talk, but I don't want to chew up time either. So at your discretion.
Thank you very much. Are there any speaker cards?
Mayor, I do not have any speaker cards.
All right. And nobody from the audience that didn't fill out a card wants to speak? Please come and identify yourself.
Good evening, and I thank you for the opportunity. I'm Alan Krob from 16495 Almeria Road in Pebble Creek. This may be a moot point because the orientation of the project may answer the question. I believe Millennium is one of the schools that, or the school that has constructed a good deal of solar panels above their parking structure. I just wanted to ask if the 50-foot structure would encumber sun access to those solar panels. Thank you.
Question.
Mayor, Lord, members of the council, members of the public, gentleman is correct. There are a number of solar panels that were recently constructed in that area. There is a setback from the property line. We did show the site plan to the high school officials, and the angle of the sun is ideal for where they are located. and the relationship of the property being to the west will not have a negative impact, and the high school has confirmed that.
Great, thank you. And that, no other, anybody else in the audience want to speak? All right, thank you. Okay, I would like to ask the deputy clerk to read the ordinance 12-1255 by title only, please.
Adopt ordinance 12-1255, amending the Palm Valley Phase 5 Planned Area Development PAD zoning as conditionally approved by ordinance number 2003-858, conditionally rezoning approximately 6.6 acres generally located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Indian School Road and Wigwam Boulevard to allow an assisted living facility, congregate care facility with the modification of certain C1 district development standards to allow an increase in maximum building height from 30 to 50 feet and a reduction in the parking standards from 0.75 to 0.65 spaces per unit, adopting supplementary zoning map number 11-03, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Could I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Councilman Gilzer motion and second by Councilwoman Laura Tano. Open for council discussion. Councilman Pizzillo?
I might have missed it in your presentation, but one of the things we talked about when we had the meeting with the developer was to ensure when they sign up, they're aware that there's a high school there, they'll be notified, something in writing, there may be band practice, there may be late nights, so that anybody who moves into that facility knows that that's a potential. Did I miss it?
Mayor, Lord, Councilmember
Okay.
Pizzillo, we have that in stipulation number 3 on the ordinance, which requires any future renter to sign a disclosure statement, acknowledging that they do know that Millennium High School is in close proximity.
No, apologize, I missed it.
No,
Sorry.
that's all right. We're going to tease you about it. You don't mind, do you? On this side?
It's choking off the eye.
I do, unless they're
Okay,
off. I
Vice,
don't know
that's
that-
all right, go ahead.
Okay.
Vice Mayor?
First of all, this is a much-needed facility. This is a great transitional housing product that will be beneficial to Goodyear citizens. I would like the question, or I do have a question regarding something we had discussed. This isn't a special use permit, correct? This is just a PAD. And something that, one concern that we have besides the one to do with the high school, and I think we've covered that, but for whatever reason, this facility could not turn into, say, some kind of drug rehab home, whatever you may call it, that it would stay as this type of product. That was something that I know we've discussed. And so could you address that part for me? Thank you.
Mayor, Lord, Councilmember Osborne, yes, if you refer to stipulation number 3 and also number 1, this is a PAD amendment request. As I stated previously, the zoning for this site is C1, neighborhood commercial. This type of assisted living or retirement facility would be allowed in C1 with a use permit, but they also asked for increased building height, and they asked for a reduction in the required parking. So they asked to do a PAD amendment to receive approval for all 3. And stipulations number 1 and 2 in the staff report in the ordinance, stipulation number 1 requires that the construction of the retirement residence development be in substantial compliance with the development plan that was submitted with this PAD amendment. Also, stipulation number 2 states that multifamily or apartment or other high-density residential developments shall not be permitted on this parcel, and an assisted living / retirement facility use shall be the only residential use allowed on this site without a rezoning. Our legal department has also requested that we add stipulation number 7, which states that if vertical construction is not commenced within 2 years from the date of adoption of the ordinance, the city shall be entitled to initiate a rezoning of the property, voiding the rezoning authorized by this ordinance if the use isn't established.
Thank you for repeating that. My iPad's frozen, so I couldn't read any of that. I appreciate it. That answers my question.
Councilman Campbell?
I understand that this facility will be rented month to month. Is this correct?
I will defer that question to the applicant.
Please come up to the microphone. Thank you.
Let me give you just a quick overview of the project. I don't want to spend too much time, but
Would you step closer to the mic, please?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you again, Mayor Lord and council members. Just to give you a little background of what a month-to-month rent and what's provided as part of this project is, to put a face on it, our average resident is going to be a widowed 82-year-old woman that has been living at home and is now moving into a facility that she doesn't have to do as much upkeep. It's not a medical facility, and part of her month-to-month rent provides her with all her meals, all her transportation, housekeeping, laundry. She doesn't have to do the yard work anymore, and the opportunity to be with her contemporaries. We find that about 70 to 80% of the residents are going to be coming right from Goodyear. The remaining residents are going to be moving into Goodyear because they have family that's already here. So it is a month-to-month tenancy, and I know there's been concern about the high school. Keep in mind, if they don't like being next to high school, they can choose another place to move to if they so choose. It's not a buy-in, it's not a long-term commitment, but we find that we provide the services that it makes it a very long-term choice for them to make, to stay within the community.
Well, we thank you for bringing that choice to Goodyear.
Councilman Stipp?
You know, my first reaction is there an age limit?
55 and up.
All right. I just didn't want to have to cook anymore or whatever. Anyway, seriously. I'll go with a hard one first. Brett, can you, I've had a difficult time trying to align the pictures, if you will. How does the siting of the building correlate to the single-family residential at the north end of that property? And I thought we had talked about it, but I'm just not.
Mayor, Lord, members of the council, I'll first, going to Elmo, I'll first refer to the aerial photo, if I could. Okay, you'll see the generally triangular shaped portion. The northern portion you'll see as it comes to a sharp point, and then I'll put the site plan up there now.
Well, if you can, for my wait, before you do that, the series of white lines that are just north of Falcon Park there, if we could use that as a right above the label.
You mean the homes, the
No,
the
go
plants?
down. See where it says Falcon Park on the map, and then there's like right above it are those white lines. Yeah, if you can use that as a point of reference when you put the other side up, that would be very helpful. And I don't know if you can do that or not. That's what I've been trying to do.
Mayor, Lord, members of the council, the lines you're referring to are the sidewalks associated with the park. The site plan exhibit that I have, it cuts off at the drainage channel or the Bullard Wash portion of the park right here.
Okay, if you can just kind of say those sidewalks are about here on the building, that would.
Sure.
No, I don't want it in writing.
The sidewalks would be approximately where my pen is, in this location here, where the red pen is.
Okay. Do we have a significant enough, I'm going to say setback, which is a horrible description, from the 3-story units on the north corner of that and any residential property? You know, we're always worried about sight and can people on the 3rd story see into the people who live in the houses over there? Do we have, it looks pretty significant, and if I remember the area, it's a pretty.
You know, if it was college men, I would really worry about the pools. But little old ladies with binoculars, come on.
I'm not asking necessarily about that. We've taken that into consideration, I think is where I'm going with that.
That's quite a wide wash.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, I live over there.
And it's
so
only the tip.
It's,
Yeah, I'm
it's
just
the
making
tip.
sure. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
pretty significant. That's all.
Yeah.
Mayor, Lord, members of the council, in addition to the drainage channel, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 feet of grass, You could see the residential lot here, which could be about 200 feet long. You can see the length of the wash there. It could be 250. The subject property would on this property line here does contain. The property is set back closer to Wigwam Boulevard and closer to the high school site. It still does maintain the required landscape setbacks, but in the west portion of the property, there is still a 30-foot landscape setback being provided.
Okay, we're plus 300 feet, right?
The other thing to note is the developments. I'm going to put the site plan back up just for a minute. These buildings here are single story. So these three buildings here are single story. This larger block would be the 3-story.
Okay. All right. Second question. I know we're talking about reducing the parking from 0.75 to 0.65, roughly. No. How many parking places are we talking about?
Mayor, Lord, members of the council, this is approximately 7 parking spaces that we're allowing them to not build.
And finally, I just want to say thank you for stipulation 3, 4, 7. But I do want it absolutely on the record that the developer knows that if there are any complaints that come from there, that we will not entertain them on this council. That the stipulations are in place, that the high school is there first, and we've got to make sure that we support that high school. I'm done.
Councilman Gelser?
For the record, how many other similar facilities are you operating in Arizona at this point in time? You talked about 300 facilities nationwide, but what I understand there's a facility in Surprise.
Yes, Mayor Lord and council members.
Could you identify yourself, please?
I'm Mick Davis, 23830 North 113th Place in Scottsdale. I am the development manager for Hawthorne. I live in Scottsdale, but I work all over the country, so it's a great place to live. I've lived here 26 years. Currently, we operate a facility in Sierra Vista, just opening one in Oro Valley, and we have one in Green Valley. We had 2 joint ventures with Sun Health Corp, the Del Webb Health Company, in Surprise and West. Where's the yellow one? Sun City West, yes. We sold those a few years ago. We had a large sale, so we currently operate 45 across the United States, but we sold 300. We've developed 340 of them over the last 40 years. So, but that's our Arizona operation right now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? Well, I would just like to comment. I live across the street from there, and so I do enjoy listening to the football games and hearing the band, and that was my concern, and you took care of it with stipulation 3. I think it's much needed for people living in Pebble Creek. It's perfect because that's a great transition, and you're right. At that point, not many people are using cars, and so thank you, because it was much needed. Okay, so I will call for a roll call.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Gelser?
Aye.
Councilmember Stitt?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Osborne?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Great. All right, now we're on to B. The next business item is to be considered as authorizing staff to initiate annexation of the county right-of-way for Cotton Lane from MC 85 to the Southern Avenue alignment. And Joe Schmidt to present. Joe?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just got my voice back, so I'm going to be brief.
Oh, I'm glad. We're all kind of suffering from that, so you're not alone.
You want a cough drop?
I have one.
I got a pocket full. Could I have Elmo, please? Thank you. This is an aerial photograph of the area of Cotton Lane that we're talking about tonight. Up at the north end, here is MC-85, and then you have Cotton Lane coming south here, and then this is the bridge over the Gila River. Just to orient you to it. It had recently come to our attention that even though we had completed the roadway project, that there remained a strip of land, and I'm not sure that you're going to be able to see this as well as you would like. But before the road project and the bridge was constructed, there was a former county right-of-way that was 33 feet at either side of the line that runs down the center here, which was never annexed into the city. It's common practice in many cases not to annex county roadways until the adjoining land is developed and then brings the road up to city standards, and then we annex the roadway into the city. So it came to our attention that this strip had never been annexed into the city. So right in the middle of our road right-of-way, we have this strip of county land. And so we come to you tonight to ask for authorization to proceed with the abbreviated form of annexation of annexing county right-of-way to eliminate this gap, if you will. But the reason it's important is that the city recently entered into the agreement with Newland to extend the water line, which will go through this area. And by getting it brought into the city, then all permitting would be done through the city processes rather than involving the county county Department of Transportation. So that's why we're asking for it, authorization to proceed. Once we get that, we'll bring an ordinance back to formally annex the property through the right-of-way annexation provision of the statute.
Good, thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No.
Would anybody from the audience like to speak? All right, then I'd like a motion, please, and a second.
So moved.
Second.
A motion was made by Councilman Loretano and a second by Vice Mayor Osborne. Open for council discussion. Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. All right, we're on to C. The last business item is to consider is an appeal of North Subdivision Neighborhood to proceed with the petition process for a speed cushion on Via Villa Street. Luke Albert will present. Oh, yeah, okay.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, the North Subdivision Neighborhood is requesting your consideration of their appeal to move forward with the petition process.
Can everybody hear?
Oh, sorry.
So
If you need a hand one, we could get them in hand. Would that help? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council.
Good.
Tonight,
Good.
the North Subdivision Neighborhood is requesting your consideration of their appeal to move forward with the speed cushion process on Via Street. Following my presentation, Chuck Watson, who is the Vice President of the Neighborhood Alliance, will present the neighborhood's position regarding this request. Shown here is the North Subdivision Neighborhood with the 4 streets that have been requested for speed cushions identified. The 3 streets identified in green are Central Avenue, Palo Verde Drive, and Manzanita Drive. They have all met the criteria for speed cushions. The neighborhood has completed the petition process, and speed cushions are ready for installation by the city on those 3 streets. The 4th street at the top of the screen there, which is identified in red, is Via Street, and that street did not meet the average speed criteria as adopted by City Council. There are 2 vehicle speed criteria that need to be met in order to move forward with the petition process. The first is the average speed of vehicular traffic must be greater than the posted speed limit, and the second is that 15% of traffic must be at least 5 miles per hour greater than the posted speed limit. Shown in this graphic is a summary of the data collection effort on Via Street. Data were originally collected in June of 2011, and at the request of the neighborhood were collected again in December of 2011. Each time data were collected, the average speed fell short of meeting being above the posted speed limit, which was 25 miles per hour. In order for the data to meet the criteria, the average speed for eastbound or westbound would have to be at least 26 miles per hour. As you can see, it's 23 miles per hour and 24 miles per hour were the highest two data collection. So based on the data that were collected, the neighborhood, the traffic volume, speed data were not met. With that, I'd like to open up for any questions before I turn over to Mr. Watson.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any speaker cards?
No.
Thank you. Would anybody in the audience like to speak?
Mayor, Mr. Watson, I'd
Watson.
like to speak on the subject.
He's a familiar face. We all know him quite well.
Mayor Lord, Vice Mayor Osborne, City Council. I came tonight to talk to you about
I'm sorry, just you have to
my
repeat
name
your
is
name
Chuck
again.
Watson. I live at 877 East Via Maria Street in Goodyear, and I'm a member of this neighborhood. And the reason we originally asked for all the streets, because as you can see by the map, they're all long, straight streets. And the speed has been documented in the past by PD and neighbors as well, being excessive. Thank you, Council Gelzer, for telling us that it was a public safety issue. We believe it is. We have a lot of kids in our neighborhood walking to the park. And the reason I want to address the appeal process for Via Via is that there are children as well as retired people that live on that street that also move about our neighborhood. But the problem is we only have sidewalks on the north side of that red line. There's nothing on the south. The property property owners go right to the street. So any child wanting to walk to the park has to cross the street. Now, in order to do that at an intersection, you can see how far it is in between intersections. We don't want them doing it in the middle of the street, especially if there's speeders there. I can tell you from personal experience that I have followed people who are speeding on that street all the way down to Desert Sage Apartments. They were ATI students. I found that out, got their vehicle identification and license plate numbers, turned it into PD, and I will say recently I haven't seen them doing the same thing, so maybe PD solved that problem for us. But because it's a long straight street with no sidewalks on one side, it's still, I think, a public safety issue for children to walk down that street to get to the park. I respect the criteria, and I know there has to be rules and regulations, but in the beginning when you approved this project, we were told it was the first of its kind. It's going to be a pilot program. So in order to get the best information back on how well it works or doesn't work, I think it would behoove us to consider doing Via Via. That way all the long straight streets in our neighborhood are addressed. They all have speed cushions, and if it works like we think it's going to, then it's a win-win situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No other speaker, is that correct?
No.
All right, then I'd like to have a motion, please, and a second.
So moved, Mayor.
Second. I think I need to read this.
Sorry.
That was my fault. Authorizing staff to move forward on the petition process for speed cushions on the Via Villa Street.
I so moved, Mayor.
Second. All right. Motion was made by Councilwoman Campbell and second by Councilwoman Loretano. Open for council discussion. Gary? Councilman
Luke,
Gelzer?
on the petition process, is it 85? Could you refresh us on how many people have to sign the petition and where the speed bumps would go on Via Via? Yeah, did I say that right? Via Villa.
Mayor Lord, Councilmember Gelzer, the requirement is that 65% of the study area residents sign the petition, and there would be at least 2 speed cushions, possibly 3. The 2 that would definitely be installed would be, if there's a way I can get that graphic back up with the picture. Well, the 2 that would definitely be installed would be between the the green line to the left, which is Central Avenue, and the one in the center, which is Palo Verde Drive. And then we would look at whether one would need to be installed in that smaller section to the right, which is between Palo Verde Drive and Manzanita Drive.
Okay. So basically what you're saying is 65% of the houses that front on Via Villa Street would have to sign this petition, and the people, the actual location where the speed bumps would be installed, those people in front of that have to sign in to this petition also. Is that correct? Do I understand that correctly?
Mayor Lord, Councilmember Gelser, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Loretano?
Just from the presentation, could you put that back up, the graphic back up? I guess my concern is it really does look like it really looks like that street would probably need it. Even it's not that far off the criteria that it really looks like if the neighbors want it, because that one street bisects the other three streets where there's speed bumps speed cushions, and it seems like someone would just drive that. You'd put more of the speeders on that one street because they all connect. So I guess that's my concern. So if the neighborhood wants it, I don't see the problem here.
Councilman Stipp?
It's my turn. Maybe I missed it. What? I have my glasses here. Hang on.
All right.
It's all falling apart at one time. Via Elena runs all the way through from Central to Manzanita by the park, and Cali Adobe does the same thing. What? And Cali Chirolo. What is? I'm okay with it if the neighbors want it. I'm okay with it going in. But are we going to be revisiting this again later to do those streets, or is there a traffic system that kind of works that tells you that once we do X number % of the streets, we don't need to do them all? I mean, is there some kind of rationale there?
Mayor Laura, Councilmember Stipp, there's not really every neighborhood's so different. There's not really a way to, I guess, estimate what the impacts will be very easily of speed cushions when you have, like you said, similar east-west connecting streets. But this time I'd like to turn over to Mr. Watson maybe to see if he has any input on that subject.
Chuck, if you don't mind. And while you're walking up, here's the genesis of my concern is we're going to put speed cushions on the main drags that none of the houses front, but that means we're going to push those people to the actual residential street. That's my concern.
Yeah, and we looked at this with Luke in the beginning, and there's only 2 streets that go east and west through the whole entire neighborhood. But there are homes on both sides of that street, so we can kind of help police ourselves. Okay. If we see somebody speeding there, we can get their license plate number and call it in. On Via, there's nothing but Desert Sage Apartments and the Country Air Apartments to the north, so there's no visual there. And that short section between Palo Verde and Manzanita, it's actually a wall or a fence, they call it, 6-7 foot tall, so nobody can see that from just about anywhere, so that's why the speeders think they can start right. I've seen them blow through that stop sign at Palo Verde at 60 miles an hour, so they're fearless. But we just felt that it was worth the appeal process. We're very happy that you approved us for the other streets and that the criteria met with those, but we felt like as a pilot program that we may not be giving you good information back by leaving that one street drag strip. And that's what we're afraid is going to happen. Maybe the cushions will slow them down, and that's what we're hoping coming into the neighborhood, so that the cross streets never have to be addressed.
And then push them out entirely.
Yep, and we can police that ourselves with neighborhood watch and some other good things we have going on.
Okay.
Councilwoman Campbell?
Chuck, at our homeowners association meeting, the residents present there have all spoken in favor of this project, and I want to thank our city engineer for working with your subdivision to establish this pilot program, since the city had not had a policy regarding the speed humps. And if we save one child, it is absolutely worth it. And on many occasions, we have been at the park as a neighborhood, attending functions as people speed by on those streets we're most concerned with. So I want to thank you and your neighborhood for bringing this concern to our council, and we appreciate the opportunity to work with you to solve this problem for you and for our residents.
Thank you, Councilmember Campbell. I would like to point out that several of our residents are here in support tonight.
Would you ask them to stand, please, so we can see them?
And
Thank
some
you
of them
for
actually
coming.
live on Via Via, and they've been bringing this up at our neighborhood alliance meetings for years. So, as well as Lily Schuett with Neighborhood Services. She's been instrumental in helping move this process to the point we're at now. So, we appreciate her support as well.
Councilman Pizzillo?
Just real quick, can you throw that slide back up real quick? Chuck, I just got a question. On the street there that's labeled in red, where we're looking to put a couple of those cushions in, are they coming down that street, crossing over to the other side where the apartments are? Where, I guess what I'm trying to get a feel for, where what are the kids doing, with the cars coming up and through there? Because you say there's only a sidewalk on one of them, right? And it's only on the north side.
Right.
So there's no sidewalk on the south side. So are they
Correct.
walking in the street?
Well, I've seen kids playing in that street before. I mean, and crossing over, if they live in the middle of that street, chances are they walk across to the sidewalk. But it seems like it's besides school buses that have been reported speeding, because they dropped the last of the kids off at the intersection of Via Via and Palo Verde. And then the bus goes all the way down that street, and I've had neighbors tell me, we got to slow these buses down. We're in the process of making some phone calls about that. I think that we can remedy ourselves, but the cars, it's still a speeder's alley.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments? I would like to take a roll call on this one, please.
Councilmember Loretano?
I just want to make sure I'm voting the right way. Yes means I want them to be able to appeal? Okay, yes.
Councilmember Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Gelzer?
Aye.
Councilmember Stipp?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Great. Thank
Thank
you very
you
much.
very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you for your presentation.
Get those signatures.
Okay, now we're on to informational items. Council comments, accommodations, events. Who would like to start? Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I recently had a meeting with Don Mellon of McDonald's and David Swaki of Litchfield Elementary School District, and Cassie with our Goodyear Food Bank, discussing how we can formulate a plan to have a feeding program for really school children throughout the evenings and weekends, and then the summer school program. And we're just there's some great examples of that going on in a couple of schools in Litchfield Park in conjunction with churches, and I think it's a good plan that we're trying to get going. I also attended the Valley Leadership Man and Woman of the Year celebration. It was pretty exciting because the director of the YMCA, I went with her, and it was her father that was being recognized. So that was very nice.
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
Oh.
And I attended the, which many of us did, the Key to Hope dinner and auction for the Homeless Youth Connection. And quite frankly, I'm just thrilled to death. It was an outstanding event. We raised some good money for the kids.
We know how much yet?
I don't know the figure yet. I do know that I'm part of the business plan committee and the finance committee, and we've had a lot of events this month, and so we're just waiting for the final tally so we can get going and planning other items.
Would you share that, bring it to council?
I
and share
certainly
it?
will.
Thank you.
And I also attended the Seroptimus Estrella annual fashion show and annual award luncheon. And I wish Sherilyn was still here because she actually was one of their top honorees. She received their Ruby Award. Sherilyn Holman, who is the executive director of the Southwest Valley Chamber, very proud of everything she's done. And I just have to show a little pride for my own daughter because she also was one of the award winners there as their volunteer of the year. And she received a little scholarship that will go towards her college fund, but also she received a matching grant for the organization she volunteers for, and that is the YMCA Teen Action Council. So it was a double nice thing for us. That was about it. Thank you.
Good. Next. Yes.
Thank you,
Councilman
Mayor.
Campbell.
I would like to report that recently I attended another CBDG meeting, which is the Community Block Grant Program, and the request of the City of Goodyear to change the RFP dates that we had originally received approval on to go forward with our park design. And because the Department of Housing held the money up, we were unable to reach those projected dates, and the committee unanimously approved that. So we're very pleased with that so that we can move forward. And we'll be planning our ribbon cutting in October. I also attended the Faith Community Council, and I'm along with Councilmember Gelzer and Councilmember Pizzillo. I attended the Area Agency on Aging, and I have been appointed to the Elderly Abuse Exploitation Committee for the County of Maricopa, and we will be working on legislation to get introduced to stop this practice against our seniors. I also attended with everyone the Homeless Youth Connection, and I really have to tell you that that event brought together almost 300 attendees from all over the Phoenix area and all over the valley, and it was held at Pebble Creek at the Tuscany Falls Ballroom, and it was just a gorgeous night with wonderful food. But the wonderful thing about is that it was from everyone from every walk of life coming together to help these kids, and it's just Goodyear is so fortunate to have this organization within our city limits, and we're so fortunate that we have such generous citizens willing to give their time and money to keep or to get our kids off the streets that are homeless. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilman Stipp?
I don't know if it's good or bad. I've been out of town the last couple of weeks, so I unfortunately missed that event. But I did want to remind everybody about the sign dedication at Palmentier Park this Saturday at 10 a.m. It's the historic Goodyear Neighborhood Alliance has been working very closely with everybody on city staff, and I think it's going to be an exciting event for historic Goodyear and for our continuation of our park improvement program.
Great. Anybody else? I attended. I'm not even go down the litany of lists that I attended, but I just want to highlight a couple of them. And one of them is that this weekend we honored women in baseball at the stadium, and it was really nice because we had, I think the youngest was 11, and I don't want to tell you what the oldest was. She said not to repeat her age, but it was well received, and next year if they come back, I invite you ladies to come out and watch that. It was very, very nice. I was on a panel at Channel 11 in Peoria with Councilman Wilcock from Surprise and Councilman Barrett from Peoria, which was very interesting. And I'll just turn this list into you. All right, we'll leave it there. So Thank you. Our next meeting will be a work session on April 2nd. We're going to adjourn this meeting, but, oh, I'm sorry. I missed something.
I have some items that I would like to address the manager with.
Oh, okay, and I didn't even ask the manager. I'm so glad I have him to keep me in order, because that, and then he has some things that he'll want to say. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
All
Does
right.
he go first, or do
So
I?
why don't you go first, and we've given you a number of items this evening during the budget workshop and so on.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Council, there are several items for the work session we'll be following up on. So I won't go through that list, but we will be bringing many of those things back to Council as we go through this budget process. We also talked about having a retreat to talk about tax policy as it relates to that too with the work session, obviously a separate meeting. The one thing I do want to point out tonight is brag about our ballpark very briefly. I sent an email earlier, but we just have an amazing staff, amazing temporary workers, volunteers. It takes, to steal your line, it takes a village to run a ballpark. But a couple of the things just to point out real quickly is we're really in the last week. Spring training ends April the 2nd, and it is a noon start time, not 1:05. So folks still have a chance to buy tickets. But just real quickly, we are breaking records for attendance this year. We are doing extremely well. We're averaging, paid tickets are up 34%. I won't go through all the list. Sponsorship sales, 20%. It goes on and on. But overall gross revenues are up 30%. So that is incredible, and that's just a lot of hard work by folks making the experience work. And one of the things we take pride in is the grass. And talking to the teams, they go on to say that the field conditions are the best they played in, including at major league facilities throughout their regular season. So, and that takes a lot of hard work. So, just wanted to throw out some kudos to all those that make that possible. That's all I have tonight,
Right.
unless there are questions.
Vice Mayor Osborne.
Thank you. Mr. Dahlke, a couple of things I would like to mention. I would like to see us have a discussion on our social media and regarding our expectations and policy direction regarding that. I'd also like to have a follow-up to something that we discussed in our visioning retreat, and that had to do with small businesses and kind of an orchestrated getting out there to our businesses. It was something that we had discussed. I was kind of thinking of how we could all come together as council, as Tina Daniels, Harry Paxson, and making it an orchestrated kind of getting out there to the businesses. If it's a couple of us council members going to one part of the town and seeing the businesses, having this orchestrated plan where we're really getting out and trying to hit every business owner that's out there, letting them know that, here we are, this is what we can do to help you, just introducing ourselves, but making it more of a plan. I know Tina Daniels is going out there and doing some of those things, but, as we discussed at our retreat, we kind of wanted to have us all together doing this. And lastly, I wanted to remind you that Palm Valley Boulevard that had been recently resurfaced, repaved, whatever you call it, I don't know what our expectations are of that road, but I can tell you as I walk down Palm Valley Boulevard, the numerous large cracks that are in the road after being redone, I'm really surprised about. Maybe we expected that. I don't know, but when I know that it was like $500,000 and I see these large cracks, I really question that. So I would like some follow-up on that. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
On that issue, it's 144th as it starts at the north and it swings its way around. The same conditions kind of exist on that stretch that was resurfaced, and I'll say that in quotations, that I think we need to perhaps look at some warranty issues on that.
Are these resurfaced, or are they just the cracks?
No, they were
resurfaced.
resurfaced. Yeah, they were redone.
Within last 6 months or something, right?
Well, even less than that, yeah.
Okay.
So
No.
I think we need to maybe look at least on those first few streets that they did as they perfected the process, because I know it was a new process. I had asked questions about it in the past.
And Madam Mayor, if I can add one more up there, there's several streets in
course.
Estrella, and I actually sent some pictures over to John before, so I don't know if you haven't or not. Send them, like, our street, they're as big as I put a key down there, and there's actually weeds and stuff growing between them. That's not a resurface. I just think that's needs look at issue.
Mayor and council member Loretano, specifically which location?
I can tell you one street on Paseo Way, all the way up there, up in Estrella. But there's several I've noticed over there.
And just to comment on Vice Mayor Osborne's about the business, I know that they are starting to format something. I was briefed on it, but it isn't totally developed but it's going to include everybody. Because I insist on it include everybody. It may be on a rotational basis. As you well know, we can't go any more than 3 at a time. But that is in the works, okay? And they're just trying to work out the logistics of it all. But thank you for bringing that up, Vice Mayor. Yes, Councilman Pizzillo.
A couple things, and I'm not sure where the legislator ends, but as that ends, we'd like to get an update of the damage they've done to us over the past session. Second thing is at some point, and I know it's probably still being worked on, we had Peter Plant do a study of our overall business processes. We met with the outside and came up with recommendations and how we can make it more business friendly and make it work a little smoother in the city. I'd like to see at some point, however we do it, he had goals and objectives that he wanted us to meet to make us there. See where that is, how we're doing, and try to get some feedback to see if it's working. So that would be nice. And I know there's other things on the plate, but to me that's very important to make sure that we're identified as businesses want to come here because it's a great place to locate, and it's very friendly. It's very easy to get through the process. His job was to identify, bottlenecks or things, and he did come up with a plan. And I would like to see, how it's being implemented. So.
Anything else? Before I adjourn the meeting, just a little guidance from you. We're going into a special meeting, and I have to call that. They would like to take a break. So should I just adjourn this and then come back or?
Well, what I would probably do is go ahead and convene the special meeting, make your
Okay.
motion to go to E-session, then take a break.
And
prior to
take a
beginning.
break then. Okay, thank you so much. So this meeting is adjourned.